All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Diet Diaries. Very excited for today's guest. I'm here with Liza Lieberman, who is a fashion stylist, and I found her on social media, as one does. I've been following her for a while, a couple of years, I think, and have learned so much and been so inspired by her approach to fashion and getting dressed and the role that clothes can play like in our well-being. And so I reached out to her and she's been so generous to come on and kind of talk about her business and her approach to clothes and styling with us. So hi, Liza.
Hi, I'm so excited for this.
I'm so glad you're here. This is awesome. I feel like we've been talking about it since like, I don't know, last fall, maybe last winter. It's been a while in the making.
It's been brewing and I'm excited.
Yes. Yeah, me too. So I thought we could get started. I always love to hear when people come on, like a little bit of the background. I know this was a career change for you. So love to hear like why you do what you do, how you got here, and then we can kind of go from there.
Sure. So, fashion is literally in my DNA. I grew up with a mother who was a fashion designer, the breadwinner of my family, which was unique at that time. And she instilled in me this like love for clothing and this ability to express yourself with what you wear without having to really say anything.
Mhm.
And so it was always in me as something I loved. And then I had to kind of work my way through a few careers to get to this one that I love because I needed to earn some money first.
Mhm.
Graduating and moving back to New York City is a lot. So I needed to kind of find my stability first before I was able to really lean into my creativity.
Okay. So what ultimately brought you back? Like what was kind of like that tipping point to say like, okay, I'm done with like the quote unquote traditional career route. Like I'm ready to
Mhm.
do this.
So there's two parts of that. The less interesting one is that I finally felt financially stable. That's a big impact. I'm not going to pretend it isn't.
Yeah.
And then the other side is the fulfillment that I felt doing this job. I felt like I was changing people's lives
Mhm.
truly, and I not only did I feel that, I was hearing it, and that felt so good. And it just made me realize like this career, what I might lose financially, I gained so much more in fulfillment, and just like personal growth.
Mhm.
And that was it for me. I knew that that was really what was going to bring me joy and make my life feel more complete.
And I think that like comes through so much like in the what you share on social media. Like it really does because I've learned so much from you and I like the work I do as a coach or on body image, like I talk a lot about getting dressed and the clothes that
Mhm.
you wear and do they fit and are they comfortable and do you like them? And so when you talk about the way that you're changing people's lives with clothes, like that is a real actual thing and it is incredibly powerful. Um from like a mindset standpoint, from a self-care standpoint, from like a self-worth standpoint.
Mhm.
So can you talk a little bit more about like I've heard you use this language around fashion as wellness, and I love that. Just kind of about that approach and that mindset because that's not something that like I've really ever heard before or see much out there about.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people think about wellness as working out and eating right and sleeping more, but the idea of who you prepare yourself as in the morning to present yourself to the world
Hmm.
is also so crucial because if you're going to go try on bathing suits, let's say, when you've done your hair versus when you haven't done your hair, that experience right there is so different. You
Yes.
are more likely to hate 8 out of 10 of the bathing suits when your hair is not done or you have your period versus when you have done your hair and you even put on like a little lip gloss. The different experiences that you have in that environment, let alone the environment of a meeting, like you're in the boardroom and you know that you love what you have on and the way
Right.
you deliver your
Yes.
message is going to be so different than it's going to be if you don't feel great in your outfit. So like little things like that and those tweaks makes such a big difference in the way we present ourselves and also the way we feel about ourselves. And
Yes.
and that's really what I'm trying to kind of convey to, everyone that I speak to, whether it's, clients or followers or whomever, that it's not just this like cute little girly thing that we like throw on, something new all the time. It's really
Mhm.
more about just treating our bodies and ourselves kindly, and putting more thought into how we want to present ourselves.
Yes, totally. And I think like around that, so many women struggle like with their body and what it looks like. And can I wear this? Or I don't have the body for that, or that doesn't look good on me. Like, how do you help women navigate all of those, like, kind of like, I'm going to call them like self hating stories that we have?
So I won't pretend that, like, you know, a dress with cutouts is going to look the same on everybody.
Hmm.
But I do think that there are ways to address, like, if you like that style, then the placement of the cutout just
Hmm.
needs to shift a little bit. It's
Hmm.
not that you can't, it's just that what's more comfortable for you.
Right.
Um, I was actually just speaking with a client who loves that, like, lower rise look that's coming out. She doesn't feel so comfortable. But high rise also feels like, I guess, a little uncomfortable for her as well, because she feels like she's kind of protruding in that area. So we
Hmm.
found her this, like, mid rise that still accomplished what she was looking for, to go lower, but
Yeah.
like not quite there. There's always ways to be creative around trends and styles
Hmm.
to make it fit you. You don't need to fit it. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Totally. And I think that's like so much like that all or nothing mindset that we have, like around
Mhm.
food and exercise and just everything in life, but even around clothes. Like, to your point, I don't have the body. I think cutouts are cute, but like I just can't wear that. And then you write it off. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, there's actually a way to adapt that piece of clothing to your point for your body. There's nothing wrong with your body. Let's find a way that it works for you. And, I guess in some ways, like it's hard with clothes. The clothes are the clothes, and like how can you modify them? But like shopping and finding resources and support and people like you who give you like suggestions and ways to do that versus just like writing yourself off essentially because you don't have any of those skills or resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of like the great thing about having so many wonderful stylists out there, is that we're doing all the work for you. And
Mhm.
there's so many. And we're searching through everything to find options that work for different body types. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying, like, that one dress can go on everybody if it comes in that size. Like,
Yeah.
it's really more personal preference. What am I comfortable with showing? But I would never, when someone comes to me and says, like, I can't do that, I just can't do
Mhm.
that trend, it won't work for me, that's when I'll start pushing a little bit and say, like, well,
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
there is a way that
Yes.
we can find, like, a compromise.
Yes.
And then we usually do. I'd
Yeah.
say 95% of the time we do, and they're like, wow, I never imagined us getting here. And I was like, you know what? 70% of the battle was you just trying it on in the first place.
Yes.
People are scared to even try it on.
Yes. Like
Um, and you'll be pleasantly surprised more often than not.
it's just like the self-limiting beliefs that we have around this and then like what we're giving up in the process, right? Like to your point
Mhm.
around how transformational clothes can be in how you present yourself, how you feel, how you walk through the world, and then how much of that we're shutting ourselves off from because we're like, I can't wear that. I don't have the body for that. And then not only are we missing out on what those clothes could do for us, we're also then sitting in like the shame of like, I don't look like her. I don't look like the model. I can't wear that. That's made for a girl who looks like X.
Yep.
So it's like this like double whammy of like just feeling so shitty about yourself.
Yep, and it happens even more because then, let's say you go out to dinner and someone nearby is wearing something in that style, and you
Mhm.
look at it and you're like, "Oh, I like that."
Mhm.
And you just kinda, like, sit in that feeling, and that's
Yeah.
the last thing I want. It's the
Yeah.
last thing I want for someone,
Yeah.
because it doesn't have to be that way.
No. Yeah. And it's so interesting. Like, I'm going to say you and I, but like people who are listening, like Liza and I have very different body types, very different. And I have learned so much from you. Like, and I'd love for you to talk more about like how you work with women in different body like shapes and sizes and finding clothes for them and what people, right? So what people who are listening, like what they can look for or what any like little nuggets or things that they can kind of take on their own when they're shopping or, online in store, whatever it is.
Yeah, so I learned how to dress different body types, obviously not from my own, but from my friends. I have friends of all different shapes, colors,
Mhm.
sizes. And I've learned through them and helping them what works for different bodies. And my advice would be to follow people or look for people that have a similar body type to you whose
Mhm.
fashion or style you admire, because they're your walking model right there. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the trends necessarily, but I would look more at the shape of the garments.
Mhm.
So if you like how it looks on them and you like the shape of it, like take a mental note of that and be like, okay,
Yeah.
what is it about that I like? Is it how, thick or thin the strap is, or is it where the waist falls? Is it how the rise of the pant? Like,
Mhm.
make small notes of that and kind of like keep that going for yourself in the background, so that when you shop, you're like, you know what? I remember seeing XYZ on my favorite person that I follow who has a similar body type to me. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to try some of those things, or show it to the person in the store and be like, I like something that looks like this. Do
Yeah.
you have any pants that fall a similar way? Try
Yeah.
and use these tools for yourself, advocate for yourself when you go
Yeah.
shop.
Yeah. One of my I've been shopping on Shopbop a lot lately for denim because they're showing models in two, usually like two, sometimes three sizes. I know Madewell's doing that too, right? So I
Mhm.
take like a 31, 32, 33 somewhere in there, and it's so nice to be able to see clothes on a body that looks closer to mine, right? So like I carry more of my weight in my belly. Some of those models might have more in like the tush or the hips or the thighs or whatever, but it's still just so nice to see. I mean, not just from like representation standpoint, but also to get a sense of like, what's that going to look on me? Like a straight leg jean on a person who's got hips is obviously going to be wider at the top because they're wider legs and narrower at their bottom. And on someone who is like a smaller frame, it's going to be like quote unquote straight all the way down. It's a different look sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, and shopping online, like I went to the mall, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was just like there was just like not a lot there. Like I went to look for jeans, there was nothing there. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to buy online. And buying online, there's so much variety, but then you're limited and like I have to order 4 different styles in 3 different sizes and drop
Yep.
like $1,500. And then obviously you're returning it. But so I guess like how do you approach like in-store shopping versus online shopping and like how to navigate all of that?
So I'm a big online shopper. I do the mass order. I
Okay.
do the mass order. I want to touch everything. I want to try on different sizes of everything. I, the reason, like the biggest reason that I say I take a size is because every brand decides what
Yes.
dimensions fall into a size.
Mhm.
That's not what size I am. I
Right.
could be I could be a 27 in one pair of jeans and I could be a 24 in another. Like
Mhm.
it's a wide range. So um it really, I don't depend on them to make that decision for me. I depend on myself. And at the same time, there are a lot of times I'll buy a 27 because it's more comfortable for me when I'm sitting down, and
Mhm.
have them pull in the waist at a tailor. Spend the $15 and make the jeans fit you instead of expecting,
Yes.
them to have your exact body size in the store.
Yes.
Because I really think that one of the biggest fashion mistakes people make is that we're just kind of expecting the size and dimensions of the items in the stores to just work when you walk out, and that's
Mhm.
just not the case. If you spend a little bit more money, you will
Mhm.
get something you like 10 times more because it will fit you the way it's supposed to fit you.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, like, adapting the clothes to fit your body, not like your body has to fit the clothes.
Mhm.
Right, and yeah, and that language, I've shared this with you, like, when you had talked about that, I take a size instead of I am a size. To your point about the disparity in the way clothing manufacturers figure out sizes, and I'd love to like in a moment ask you if you know anything about like how that actually happens and why it happens. But also when we say I am a size, like it becomes part of our identity, right?
Mhm.
And it's like it's not that number is just like a number, it's an arbitrary number. Like I've bought jeans from the same designer in the same style in different fabrics and have had to buy different sizes because the
Yep.
because the fabric,
Mhm.
and it's taken a lot of work. And I still have to say that to myself constantly about like, I take this size, I take this size, and trying on and paying attention to comfort and fit and prioritizing that over a number, which years ago I would never have done. Like in my head, if I had to go above a size 12, I just wasn't buying it. It could have been
Yep.
the best pair of jeans and looked phenomenal on me. I would not have done it. And now I'm
Yep.
like, great, whatever. I don't care as long as I love them and they make me feel good. Um, So I'm just like curious, do you have any insight? Since your mom is a fashion designer, and I know you're like, I've seen you talk about designing some of your own stuff. Why it is so like all over
Yeah.
the place?
So I don't, there's a few reasons. The first one is it depends where the fashion house began.
Okay.
So a brand that's in, let's say, that starts in France. If you think about French people, they tend to be a little more slender, a little taller. And so a French brand is addressing the French environment.
Okay.
They're addressing the people that walk the streets of France. And it just so happens that in the US, our size chart is shifted over a little bit for whatever reason. That's a whole other topic. So when we try on these brands, let's say using France as an example, it's just not like for like. Like it's just a different environment that they're creating this size for. And
Okay.
so automatically, I know if I'm ever ordering from a French brand, a UK brand, or an Australian brand, I'm automatically going to take a size up from what I would take from a US brand because
Okay.
it's likely going to be just down a gear.
Okay.
Um, and so that I'd say is probably one of the biggest like flags to know about
Okay.
before you start ordering.
Okay.
Um, and then the other thing is honestly like smaller brands don't always have the same resources that bigger brands do. So if you're ordering from something a little more niche, the person who cuts their patterns and makes the sizes might not be, quite so regimented in the way
Mhm.
that they do things. They might not have a huge team that does all the checks and balances of sizing.
Right.
And that's just not a luxury that a lot of fashion brands have. It's really, really hard to run a
Yeah.
fashion business. And that's why they're not as inclusive as they'd like to be. It's why
Yeah.
they, have some sizing issues. And we kind of just have to take it with a grain of salt sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that's helpful. I think it's just nice to like have the context and again, like just the factual information that it's not a problem with us and our bodies. It's just like there's cultural things, there's manufacturing things, there's budgetary, there's a lot of pieces
Yeah,
that
there's a
that go
ton
into
of
it.
pieces, a ton of things at play there.
Right.
And unfortunately, it just makes it really hard to make everyone happy for them.
Right. Right. But just knowing that it's like, okay, it's not about me. There's nothing wrong with me. It's this, there's like a whole corporation manufacturing thing going on here that has nothing to do with me. And just having that, like, from like a, like a changing your thoughts, cognitive, like restructuring kind of thing. It's just nice to have that information and say, okay, like this isn't about me. This is about that.
Not at all. And honestly, there's like a huge hole in the business, huge hole in the fashion industry that I don't know why it hasn't been quite solved yet, but I've definitely seen a much bigger investment in time and resources into expanding sizing for
Hmm.
almost every brand.
Hmm.
But it's kind of shocking that it's taken this long.
Hmm.
But if I could, use my crystal ball, I would say that the fashion landscape will look very different as far as size inclusivity in the next 5 years.
That's amazing to hear because I remember like I was in college when like, quote, like designer jeans came out, like Seven
Mhm.
and Citizens of Humanity. And so I usually take around a 32 in those jeans. And at that time, the 32, that was the biggest size they were making. And some of them, because the way they were fit, like just didn't fit me. And they were like the low rides. This is like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I remember being like, if this size doesn't fit me, I literally can't have these jeans. And that feeling was, it was so upsetting to me. And so now I see like 33, 34, like I've even like, and in like brands like that, like I know Mother Denim and Citizens are carrying like bigger and bigger sizes. And it's so nice to see that. And so it's great to hear that like you having like a, an insider and having like the experience in the business, knowing that that's coming is really, it's like a nice thing to hear.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned earlier that you like to shop on Shopbop
Hmm.
because they show two model sizes. Madewell does that,
Hmm.
Mango does that, Reformation does that. I really feel like it's going to be very difficult for brands to continue having the reach and following that they have
Hmm.
without starting to make some like really big changes. And I think they're really opening their eyes to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, So like a little bit of like a shift of topic, but I'm curious as to your opinion. Like something I struggle with clothes is I happen to love mango. Like I get their emails and I'm like literally everything. I'm like, that's cute, that's cute, that's cute. But it's like, right, how many cute things can you have? And right, that's a very moderately, I would call it like inexpensively, fast fashion brand. I've heard that it's like a little bit more sustainable and better quality than Zara. Whatever. I mean, we can talk about that a little bit, I guess. But I'm curious, like, what your take is. Like, when is it worth it to invest more money in an item? And like, what items do you recommend versus like, yeah, go to Mango, go to Zara, go to whatever. I can't think of any H&M, which is like
Mhm.
even lower than those. Like, what's sort of your take on that?
It really depends on the person and where you live and what your lifestyle is like. So I'll use myself as an example. I live in a place that has four seasons. I am in the city sometimes. I'm on this in the suburbs sometimes. One thing that is a constant for me is I always require layers, and I often require going from day to night. So for me, the things that are the most important would be my denim, because I love a great investment pair of denim that I can wear during the day with sneakers or sandals, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
That, okay, oh my goodness, there's a dinner that came up in the city tonight. I really want to look cute. Well, I can just pop on a pair of heels, keep exactly what I have on and go. So
Okay.
I feel like a really great pair of denim is definitely worth the investment, and also outerwear. So whether that be like a beautiful coat or a blazer, whatever's going on top of the outfit, you
Okay.
could be wearing your Gap t-shirt and those jeans.
Yeah.
If you have a nice blazer, you're good to go. Like those pieces for me are huge for my lifestyle. But of course, that changes for everyone based on what they do during their day.
Yes. Totally. That I mean, it makes sense. There's no like one size fits all answer. I guess like kind of given that, and you're a mom, you have two young kids. So
Mhm.
Liza you live in is it Long Island?
Yep, I live in
Okay,
Long
so the
Island.
suburbs of New York City, and she's got two young kids, and so there's a lot of people who listen. Includes myself, like work from home. I wish that I went to the city more because it's my favorite place on earth, but I don't. I'm sitting in my attic office at my desk on Zoom, and yet I still have been putting in a lot of effort over the past like year and a half to get dressed, to put together outfits. Like I have on like a belt today, and I don't have on shoes because I'm in my house, but like what's your take on getting dressed and work from home, being at home? Let's say like, so you're working and you're a mom. If you're a mom and you're not working and you're just with your kids, but you want to like feel put together, like what can we do about that?
Yep. So the truth of the matter is, of course I want, if I'm working from home and I'm not on a Zoom and I just have to just grind, of course I want to sit in my sweatpants and just
Yeah.
do it. But I have noticed that when I take the extra 5 minutes and put myself together, not in like a crazy outfit, but just something that I'm like, oh, cute. This is all right.
Yeah.
When I do that, instead of like being whatever I'm
Yeah.
wearing, like just like big sweatpants, I've noticed that I'm more productive. I think I just feel like I'm showing up,
Hmm.
and I've just kind of like set myself up for the day. So I would recommend people take a little more time, and that could be in your leggings and like an oversized sweater. It's still very comfortable, but at
Hmm.
least you feel like when you stand up, if you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror, you're like, hey,
Yeah. I'm
that's
dressed.
fine. Yeah, I'm dressed. This is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So like if the mailman like knocks on my door and I have to open up and sign something, they're not like, "Oi."
You don't have that feeling where you're like, oh my God, I'm such a mess. Don't look at me.
Yeah, like you just, if that's something that you would say if someone's at your door, then you
Yes.
didn't do it right that day.
Yes.
And obviously, not every day is going to be that, right? Some days
Right.
we have those days. That's a
Right.
very realistic
Yeah.
expectation of life. But if you can make most days better than that, and you
Mhm.
can just show up for yourself a little bit, I
Yes.
think it's very, very worth it. Not just in what you look like, but in the way that you kind of approach your day.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, like, when you're at home or you're with your kids, you're running errands, and you're not, like, quote, "being seen," right? You're not going out to dinner, you're not socializing, you're not, like if you're in a corporate job, like, in a meeting, right? So it's really becomes just for you, and
Yeah.
I think that's when we start to, like, let it go because it's like we prioritize someone seeing us and how we're dressed and how we look over how we feel about getting dressed. And we only put in the effort if someone else is going to see it. And to me, it's like, should be the other way around. It should matter a lot more for us than for someone else to see us. Like that's been a huge game changer for me. Like I'll get on the days, even when I don't have Zooms and it's just like get shit done day, I will still get dressed because it just, it, to your point, like it changes the way that I show up. And again, not 100% of the time, but a lot more of the time than I used to, where literally every day it was just like throw on whatever. I don't care what I look like. I care about what I look like for myself.
Mhm.
And I
I love
feel
the
like,
way you said that. I love the way you said that. I think that's incredibly poignant, that you really showing up for yourself and caring what you think about how you're presenting yourself. I think that's major, and it's a big mindset shift for everyone when they start their day.
yeah. Yeah. And it takes like effort. It takes work, like just like
Yeah.
anything, investing that time in yourself. And yeah, could I be doing something else in the 5, 10, 15 minutes it takes for me to do that? I could be. But then if I don't do that, it impacts everything else in my day. And that's like a lesson that I've had to learn many, many times.
Mhm.
Um, like I really think about like getting dressed as an act of self-care. And that's why I think what you talk about resonates so much with me, because that's like everything that you share and support women with.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think like what else. Are there any sort of, so we're like, this episode will air probably sometime. We're recording this, it's March 12th. It's going to air probably in like a few weeks. So by the time people hear this, it'll be like mid-April. So like coming into spring, summer, depending where you are in the world. Obviously, I know you just came from Australia, so it'll be opposite seasons. But any kind of like specific, I don't like, I'm going to say trends or things for people to look out for, that might be worth investing in some form.
Yeah, there's so many cool trends right now. We're at one of those like big pivotal trend moves. This doesn't happen that often. I'd say it's like every year and a half you get one of those trend seasons where there's just like a big shift, and I
Okay.
can like feel this one.
Okay.
um I'm seeing a ton of denim everything right now, so
Okay.
like vests, shirts, shorts, skirts, dresses. There's a lot of denim everything, and I think that's great for every body type because denim comes in so many weights.
Yeah.
It's rigid, it's stretchy, it can be molded in all these different exciting ways. That's so cool for all women, and there's a way to partake in that trend in a million different ways.
Yeah.
Because if you like yourself more on top or more on bottom, like you can kind of pick your spots and work around it. That's a
Mhm.
really cool trend that I'd say is coming. And I also love that we're moving away from this like all cream, all bone, all oatmeal, like monochromatic outfit. I think we've been seeing this whole like, quiet luxury look for a while, and
Yeah.
everyone's kind of like, all right, we get it, we get it, we get it. And now we're starting to see pops of red, pops of blue, this like beautiful cornflower, like periwinkle blue that's coming out. So I think there's exciting ways to play with color,
Okay.
and some print. I'm seeing leopard again. I never thought I was a leopard person myself, but
Yeah.
I do love like a little accent here and there. So like
Yeah.
a leopard, maybe like a leopard kitten heel with your denim and like a white tee and a
Okay.
cute little belt. Like
Okay.
little ways to kind of dab in some things like that. I'd say those are trends that excite me.
Okay.
I'm seeing more silver. We've gone through a long gold
Gold,
period. I
gold,
feel
yeah.
like it's been like literally 10 years of
Yeah.
all gold. If you wore one silver thing, it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Seeing silver on buckles, on bags, on whatever, I'm just like excited about it. Like, all
Yeah.
right, let's change it
Ready
up.
for it, ready for
So
something new.
there's a lot right now. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I think like kind of connecting the dots between like the denim trends and the like the animal print, like obviously denim, that's a huge spectrum, but like let's say like wide leg jeans. Like I was talking to a friend recently and she's like, I'm too short to wear wide leg jeans. Or people would say like, oh, I can't wear like a print or like an animal, an animal print pattern. But then you were just like, oh, you can do it like on a kitten heel or as like a
Mhm.
small touch of an accessory, and there's ways to like take these things that are cool and exciting and fresh and do them in a way that feels good for you. It doesn't have to be I'm all in or I'm all out. And I just think it's really important to go in with that more like that in between mindset. Like the all or nothing really just never serves anyone. And it applies to fashion and getting dressed too.
Yep, and like there's a really big difference between just fashion and style, right?
Yes.
Fashion are like all the trends. They're big statements and they're coming out and it's exciting and it's new and it's big. We don't all have to be big fashion people, right? We can be our own style. And so that's when you get to say I pick and choose what works for me and what
Hmm.
I like,
Hmm.
and this is how I'm going to incorporate this and this into my style. And I'm actually not going to do that trend because it's not me.
Yes.
And like, that's great. We love that. Who wants to see every single new trend on one person? It doesn't really show who you are. I want to see
Right.
like what did Jordana decide was for her this season? And like, let me see how you made that you.
That's such a good point you bring up because I think I struggle with that personally. Like between following all the people that I follow and seeing what they're wearing and then trying to figure out like what is my personal style? Like
Mhm.
how do I not just copy what I see people wearing because I happen to like it and it looks good? And how do I like find what I like, what feels good for me, what represents me, what makes me feel like me? Like how do I think it's tough to see so much on social media and then not just like copy
Copy
versus
it.
do your own thing.
Yes, that is very true, and it takes a lot of time.
Okay.
So, and the reason it takes time is because it's not supposed to be super easy,
Okay.
right? It takes time to learn ourselves, learn
Mhm.
our bodies, and learn what makes us feel good. And if you were just to like go into Mango and like do a big, supermarket sweep of all the aisles, sure, you would accomplish like hitting all the trends, but it wouldn't necessarily feel like you, which is why it's important to pick those investment pieces because you're making this conscious decision when you're in the store and you're trying things on. When they're a little more expensive, you actually do more like brain work
Mhm.
than when they're not.
Yeah.
And you really have to think about how much do I love this? And when you put it on, if you're like, oh, this feels so good, like I love this, and you walk out and you're so excited, I guarantee you will love that piece for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what trend comes out, you're going to find a way to incorporate that piece back into your outfit. I had my first TV appearance on Sunday, and I was like so excited about it. And I was just like, how do I want to show up
Mhm.
today? And I was like, you know what? I just want to be me. And I pulled out, I know, denim is coming in for spring. It's very exciting. I have a denim shirt from Topshop
Mhm.
from 15 years ago.
Okay.
And that's what I wore because I love how it fits me. And it's not the most luxurious piece I have, but I love
Right.
how it fits me. I like how I feel in it. It's breathable. Um, and I just feel like when you pick pieces like that and you really put the effort into thinking about it and
Yeah.
knowing that when you walk out of the store, you're really excited about it.
Mhm.
Once you make a wardrobe of those things, the little style tweaks that you make are easy
Yeah.
because you're like, I want to wear that.
Yes. I find myself so often like trying things on and I heard you say this once and I've tried to use it like if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Where
Hmm.
like I'll put something on whether it's in a dressing room or at home and if I have to like stare there, sit there or stand there and stare at it and be like, "Do I like this?" I'm like, "No." If I have to try to talk myself into it, it's a no. It's like you put it on and you immediately if it's not like, "Oh my god, I love this," it's a no. And it sounds so easy when I say it, but in practice, it's really hard to do that. Like
Yeah.
I try to
It's
talk
that way
myself
for
into stuff all
everyone.
the time.
Yeah, no, it's that way for everyone. Even me. If I have to sit there and I'm like, maybe if I have to think about it, it's a
Right.
no. Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be, your choice. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to just feel like the pressure to have the item,
Yes. Yeah.
So if the advice I would give is if you're ever like, do I have to text this picture to a friend, spouse,
Yes.
mother, and ask what they think? No.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
That's like really the rule.
Yeah, I love that. That's like a very quick like yes or no. That's just such an
Mhm.
easy check-in. It's so funny as you're talking through all of this, I'm like stylists are basically coaches for like getting dressed. and
Yep.
like for clothes and for a style, but it really is like it's a skill. Like as you were just saying, like when I asked you how you find your style and you said like it takes practice, I'm like it's a skill to figure that out. And like I have never really thought about getting dressed in that way
Mhm.
before, and I'm now starting to, and it's in some ways it's like intimidating and scary. In some ways it's like fun and exciting because it's like experiment and try things and see what you like and see what makes you feel good and start to pay attention to that and take note of it. And I love just the like when you put it on, if you love it, great. And if you think you have to text a picture to your best friend, then it's a no. And just that in and of itself, I feel like is helpful for finding your own style, right?
Yep.
Because if you love it, then that's your style. And if you're like,
Absolutely.
it's not your style.
And I'd also say, like, I had the great fortune of having an in-house
Your
fashion
mom.
designer
Yep.
as a mom. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I got a head start, and it's something that just I always was interested in because I saw it all the time. I used to go with
Mhm.
my mom to that was when New York City, they actually had the factories in New York City. I used to go there and
That's
they
so
would make
cool.
clothes for me. But it's never too late to be that person. It's never, ever, ever too late to invest the time in yourself in figuring out what your personal style is. And so I would encourage anyone listening to this to just take some time, look out there. There's so much out there, there's so many resources, and you should use them. And, you know, get a small start. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. I think that's like a perfect place to kind of wrap things up. I'd love for you to share how people can find you, what services you offer, because you work virtually as well as in person.
Yeah, so you can find me at my website, lizalieberman.com, or on Instagram, liza.lieberman. I offer a range of services, anything from cleaning out a closet full of things that maybe aren't pleasing you anymore or aren't helping you anymore. I'll also go through your closet of things if you feel like you've bought all of the items that you really need, but you just don't know how to put the outfits together. We can do that. And then, of course, I do capsule wardrobes, bridal, vacations, everything. So here to
Awesome.
help.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been just really fun for me personally, and I think really just an amazing resource for the people who listen.
Yeah, absolutely. This was so fun. I love conversations like this.
I know, me too. Best part of the job.
Yep.